Hi lovies, and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into
I came
today's video.
across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and I thought to show you guys where this Hispanic man, or will I call him the indigenous man, decided to twist history concerning the slave trade and the amount of people that actually was transported into slavery. But he was actually educated after all. I'm just going to roll the clip as well as some of other stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video.
So the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in a span of 350 years, with an average of 400 people per trip, with each trip taking about 2 months, meaning that they would have to transfer around 35,000 people per year in a highly coordinated, constant flow of ships from Africa to North America without error for 350 years, with factors like weather, navigation challenges, ships maintenance and repair. On average, ships lasted 10 to 20 years, mortality rates being 10 to 50% per trip, conflicts and piracy. Only about 70 to 75% of the ships that made that trip ever completed their voyages successfully, meaning that this process was fraught with interruptions and challenges and far from smooth and inefficient. Taking into consideration all these factors would make this process last over 5,000 years. This would mean there would have to be 86 trips per year that went flawlessly. 86 ships carrying 35,000 people flawlessly. Now, given all the problems that we just went over, this would make the probability of 86 ships flawlessly making it to the Americas from Africa at 0.000000018%. The probability of maintaining such a perfect success rate is nearly zero. But the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in 350 years flawlessly, when it theoretically would take 5,000 years. Got it? So the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in a span of 350 years, with an average of 400 people per trip, with each trip taking about 2 months.
It never fails. There's always a pasty, dusty, musty, Caucasus Mountain adjacent glizzy swallower, always capping for white supremacy when it comes to the history of black people. And today's white supremacy glizzy swallowing contestant is I Believe in Me Psychology, who is trying to disprove the transatlantic slave trade by the numbers.
Success rate is nearly zero, but the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in 350 years flawlessly, when it theoretically would take 5,000 years. Got it?
What's that line from Forrest Gump? Stupid is as stupid does. Well, I Believe in Me Psychology definitely falls into the does category. So let's get into the research over me search, because the transatlantic slave trade forcibly displaced some 12.5 million Africans between the 17th and 19th centuries, and that is a conservative estimate. And take into account only about 10.6 million of those people survived the Middle Passage or the transatlantic slave trade. And there's literally documentation of slave voyages. And you can go to Emory University's website, and documenting slave voyages is literally a researched project there. That has been a research project there for over a decade and a half. And the information I will be presenting is from Exploring the Origins and Forced Relocation of Enslaved Americans Across the Atlantic World. The Slave Voyage site now provides resources detailing more than 36,000 slave trading voyages between Africa and the New World. And we're just going to deal with those 36,000 voyages. You can even find the schematics of typical slave ships on the site, like this one that carried 345 slaves. And there are plenty of documented independent sources that also can be used in correlation with the Emory University's findings. The number of people carried off from Africa reached 30,000 per year in the 1690s and 85,000 per year a century later. More than 8 out of 10 Africans forced into the slave trade crossed the Atlantic between 1700 and 1850. The decade 1821 to 1830 saw more than 80,000 people per year leaving Africa in slave ships. This is all documented research, but no, you all are only good at me feeling search. And although slave ships varied from carrying 10 slaves to carrying 700, we're going to go with the number per voyage that you provided yourself.
So the transatlantic slave trade managed to transport 12 million people in a span of 350 years, with an average of 400 people per trip.
You know what? We're going to take the 36,000 voyages that the Emory research has provided us with, and instead of using your 400 figure, I'm going to use the 345 figure carried by this slave ship as an average between 10 and 700. Back to research for just a moment, because if you want to look up slave ships and the sizes they ranged from, like the ones that carried 10, or the slave ships that carried up to 700 enslaved people, you could literally Google that also. But back to the math. So using the 345 figure for 36,000 voyages, let's see what the math says. Okay, Google, what is 36,000 times 345?
36,000 times 345 is 12,420,000.
12,420,000 displaced Africans during the transatlantic slave trade, and that is conservative. Doesn't matter how many of those ships wouldn't have made it once their cargo was loaded on it. We know that of those 12.6 million Africans displaced by the transatlantic slave trade, only about 10 million of them made it to their destination. And there are those who might attribute your lack of ability to do research over me search to the number of blows to the head you most likely took in a boxing ring. And they would be wrong, because it's the proximity to Caucasus Mountains that has firmly lodged the glizzy of white supremacy in the back of your throat for a long time. Now, you all have the day you deserve, and may the ancestors judge you accordingly.
Yes, it did. Now, no hate to this original creator, but I feel like it's really important to address this issue whenever it pops up. Just like denialism of the Holocaust or the Armenian genocide or the horrors of the residential school system, people who deny the transatlantic slave trade and the very real trauma that is associated with it are doing a serious disservice to the healing that needs to take place over this entire process, and are disrespecting people whose families have very real stories of surviving the Middle Passage and all of the things that followed suit. So for the uninitiated, the transatlantic slave trade was part of what's called the triangular trade, and this brought people to the Americas. So this is not just the United States, but also to Canada, to the Caribbean, to Mexico, to Central America and South America. And there, you would have the manufacturing of goods like cotton, tobacco, sugar, etc. And then those raw materials would then be sent up to Europe, where they would be turned into things, where they would be brought back to West Africa, and they would be traded for more slaves. And this was a trade that lasted for around 350 years and required a lot of manpower. And this was big business. A lot of the major empires were involved. We're talking about Britain, Spain, Portugal, France, even Latvia took a crack at it. My mother's country, or my mother's island, was like a colony of Latvia for like a little while for some reason. But anyway, this was big business. And so with big business, you're going to have a lot of people who are interested. You'll have people who are contractors or privateers whose job it is to do that on behalf of businesses. There are businesses who will be doing it themselves with their own ships. You have ships that are mandated by the king to ensure that there are certain numbers of people that are brought over a period of time. So this was not a small endeavor. In fact, the first slaves to arrive in the Americas from Africa numbered about 4,000, I believe it was. And these were brought from the west coast of Africa to the Spanish colony in Jamaica, who ended up running away and living with the Taino. Good for them. But they had the capacity to transport a lot of people very quickly with a lot of ships. And moving 12 million people in the course of 350 years by ship was absolutely doable. And this is including if we factor in all of the things that were mentioned, like storms and maintenance and people dying on the ships and jumping overboard, or people getting thrown overboard because people want to get insurance payments and all of that. We also have to consider the fact that there were people who were transported illicitly, illegally, or without licenses. So there were people who would just kidnap people and then ship them over without being connected to another company. And then they would just bring them to a major trade hub, say, for example, Bridgetown in Barbados, where they would just get mixed in with the population, they would take their profit, and they would go on and do it again. And this is a thing that happened. I mean, 12 million is the low end figure. That is what they can account for, but chances are the number was much higher. But since the math was not mathing, let's do some together. So we're talking about 12 million people. We'll go with that figure over the course of 300 years. So we're talking about 1500 to about 1850. Okay? We'll work with that. So now we're looking at about 34,285 people plus change in a year. So maybe that might be a ship that may not be totally full and is bringing a few people. Okay, we'll go with that. So let's say, for example, the average ship carries about 450 people. And we do have to understand that not all ships carried this many people. Some carried more, some carried fewer. And then as time went on, especially after the trade was made illegal, or at least the transport was made illegal, there were fewer ships. And at the very beginning, there were fewer ships. But if the Spanish were able to bring 4,000 people in the first year of enslaving people, that should tell you enough. So anyway, so we get this 34,000 people divided by about 450 people per ship. So what we get now is about 76 successful trips a year. 76 successful trips in a year. And a ship usually takes about 3 months to get from one point to another. 76 ships a year, average, over 350 years, was absolutely doable. In the beginning, of course, there were fewer ships. People were traveling on smaller ships. But when the trade really picked up, especially at the peak of it in the 18th century, you had hundreds of ships a year going from one place to another, transporting people, tobacco, slaves, sugar, what have you. And it's really important that we respect the fact that this happened, because much of what our society looks like today is rooted in the wealth that was gained as a result of that trade. Now, if you're interested in learning a bit more, you can check out Olaide Equiano's memoir. He actually wrote this in the late 18th century about his experience being trafficked from Benin to the Caribbean and then later on to the United States up until, of course, he got his freedom. And it was a major piece of the strategy for abolitionists in England who were trying to put an end to the trade. I also recommend checking out the Smithsonian Slave Wrecks Project, where they actually travel around finding the places where the slave ships sank and finding out the stories of all of the people who ended up not making it across the sea. I hope this was helpful, and have a great night.
Yes, they did. They absolutely did. There's tons of sources that you can look up that would verify that exact fact. They actually got this number from 8 different sources of information and documents, well documented over history. So, and actually 12 million is a conservative estimate. It actually could be higher because we just have incomplete records. And engaging in this kind of revisionist thought actually obfuscates the point that it actually happened. And we need to do better.
I know it's atrocious to think that your people, the Ashkenazi and the Europeans, all of the Europeans, and all Central, South, and North America had a hand in it. As you said, North America, no, Mexico had a hand in it. Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Colombia, all of them had a hand in it. All of Europe. They were funded, operated, and insured by the Ashkenazi while Europe built the ships. So yeah, about 350 years, moved 12 million people. Us, the Hebrew Israelites, the children of God, to this hemisphere. And it's funny that you Hispanics are so racist, you're trying to disprove that this happened. Don't worry, Yahuwah remembers. The Most High remembers, and the Bible predicted it. Take care of yourself. Your kingdom is crumbling, and everything you people did to us, you will pay for. Shalom.
Y'all piss me off so damn bad trying to act like this shit didn't happen. When I know my damn history, I know how my people got here. And the Spanish and the Portuguese captured and sold more slaves than any damn body. People that look like you. Keep your goddamn mouth shut. You act like 35,000 people a year is something. It was actually about 366 years, 12 million people over 366 years. That's about 32,000 people a year. 32,000 people. And the Spanish and the Portuguese were funded by the government, which had military grade cargo ships that could carry at least 700 slaves, which means it'll be about 46 trips a year. And if it's 10 damn ships doing that, that's only 1 trip a season. Find you somebody to play with.
Like, seriously, lovelies, at this point, I think that black people have really suffered. They have suffered in the hands of everyone. Everybody is out here to talk about black history. Everyone is out here to give their own history, converting it to black history. So these two decided that, okay, he was just going to come out and, share the historical fact that he has learned and he's just trying to tweet something. And the thing I noticed is that some of these people often think, or maybe they want people to believe, that there are not indigenous people that was over this land before every other, people was transported for slavery. Like, before I started, my research and, stitches and the things I have seen on, TikTok at the cost of, trying to know the history behind, slavery and all of that. At first, I was just seeing some videos and some researchers talking about how, black people was taken from Africa. Like, the history that I've known before, like the one I know before, is actually different from the ones I am finding out later on. That's why I say that these people are just trying to make it possible for us not to actually know the real history, but it all depends on individual to keep on digging and finding out facts. Like before, what I thought or what I have seen on some of the stitches that I put up here is the fact that some European people, that some Caucasian people that was actually living in a said mountain, decided that they were going to go to a particular land, and this land there are some indigenous people living in the said land. So what if did was they actually teamed up with some European people, like Caucasian and European people, to go against the real owners of this land, which they went there. After they went there, that's the first history I knew about all this thing. So after they went to the said land, they inflicted some kind of diseases or infections or whatsoever to get these people, out. And after which there was a cube, and that was how they were able to take over this land and enslaved the people. There are some clips and there are some historical things I have been putting up here, from most of our brothers and sisters who have actually brought up their time to actually research, because they got fed up with all of the lies, the propaganda about black people. Like, they are just making it personal. They're just making sure that black people does not really know where they are coming from. But the thing is that people are now aware, people are getting to find things, people are getting to know their roots, So when these brothers and sisters must have tried their best, and sometimes I put their stitches here, most of them with all of the historical thing I've learned, which, the continuation of what I'm actually talking about, of what I know before. So they're like, they got these people, enslaved these people, and they were like, okay, if some set of people are like this, living in this, land, that means there are other people that looks like this, which we can just go ahead, source for them, enslave them, bring them over to this place, and make them build everything that they are actually enjoying today, which they did. They went down to Africa, brought some people, enslaved some people from all the continents in Africa, brought some people, enslaved them, and that was how they were able to actually build whatsoever they are enjoying today. But now, with all of the research, all of the findings I have been seeing, the stitches, it's now got to my attention that there were indigenous people living in the said land. Who is even black people? Like, there are actually black people living in that land, and I think some people were actually exported or transported from Africa. But some people were like, no one was actually exported from Africa, which I still don't really believe that. People were like, the enslaved people are the indigenous people. I will not dispute the fact that the enslaved people are the indigenous people, happens to be maybe black Indian people or something, who we know today as, but I still have that belief that there were also some people that was actually, brought from Africa too. That's why, there are so many futures and all about. The thing is that people like this guy, and some other painkiller people who is just trying to deceive black people, making them think that all of their ancestors actually come from Africa. I think that is just a fallacy. That is just some kind of propaganda in order to, make the indigenous people to think that all of their ancestors are from Africa. Like, they don't want these people to actually know that, oh, this is actually their land. This is their land. Nothing like ancestors being from Africa. Maybe majority, some might have, come from African descent. But I actually believe that there are indigenous people who happens to be the Hebrew Israelites and the people that owns and live in that land. If they say that the first person or the first people that ever existed in this planet Earth are actually black people, or are actually someone that is of darker skin complexion, that means those are the real owners, those are the real people, the real indigenous people that ever lived in that land. And these people decided to come there, take it over, inflate them with some kind of diseases, made them to start working for them and enslave them and all of that. But That is the history that these people have tried their best to actually wipe out, so that some people will not, realize that, oh, we are actually from this land. Like, I think that black people are actually all over the world. Since they're the first people that have ever existed, they are all over the world, but these people from Neanderthals, from the Caucasus Mountain, decided that they were going to team up with some Caucasus and Neanderthals people from the European descent to come colonize everyone, then wiping everyone's history, any trace that will make you to actually know your history. And now, even in schools, because of all of the findings, the truth, they don't want people to actually know their historical background. So when I see videos like this, just to get people more confused, and I love the fact that our brothers and sisters are out there to actually educate this fact. Like, enough of all of the confusion or trying to, look for a way to confuse people not to actually know their history. So the thing is that I think that they are just looking for a way in order to make people believe that the enslaved people were not actually the indigenous, like the people that was actually in the land. They want everyone to believe that whosoever that was in that land was actually brought from somewhere. But the thing is that there were people in that said land, even if there were other people that was brought from somewhere. And these people that is in that land, this is what they're just hiding it. That if anyone of this wanna just correct me if I'm wrong, educate me more, because I actually want to learn. Like, leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of all of these history discussions and what's have you. And please, if you've not subscribed to this channel up to this earth time, please do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like and share this video, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.
Estelle, why not just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational purposes. So please share this video, subscribe if you're yet to do that, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.